Perceive, process, perform. Do you need inspiration for your practice, or do you simply need to practice inspiration? With this series, we aim to do both. Give us 15 minutes and we'll give you practice inspiration.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Jurim. I'm a digital dentist from New York. I was so lucky. I grew up in the background of the dental laboratory industry, and then I was able to go to engineering school. And what we've worked towards and what we've done over the past couple of years between myself and my team is we put together a facility where we have a digital dental office under one roof, the same place where we had moved our digital dental laboratory. And because we have these two interacting together, we always have the ability to take these different parts and to share with everybody some of the new trends in the digital workflows that we see that are happening in dentistry. And that's what I want to be able to share with you today. What we found is that when we began digital dentistry in 2012, there have been so many changes to the workflows and to the ecosystem that allows us to do the type of dentistry that we do today. A great example of this is what you see above, and this is where we are scanning. And what you see is that we have the ability to take these intraoral scans and to have freedom as we're going ahead and moving. So what's happened is that the process of recording all this digital information and the systems that we use to record this information have changed tremendously. And because of those changes, we now have tools in dentistry that we can use. And this is what I really want to be able to share with you today, some of those latest and greatest trends. So the ability to scan and the ability to record all this information and the ease of how we do that has been one of the most important parts of the change in dentistry. So what we've seen is that when we have a case where we're going to do an aesthetic reconstruction, it's not the outcome that digital dentistry really changes. It's really the steps that happen in between. And if we could understand those steps and maybe some of the steps and how we change those steps around, that's what we really are looking to share with the digital workflows and the trends that happen within those workflows. We have the introduction of different tools, and these tools like 3D printers and milling machines that used to be a very expensive, very involved, very complex machines are now within reach for dental practices. And so by combining these different tools and using them in a way that has everything communicating together, we're able to expand the services and the treatment that we provide to our patients. And that's been one of the most exciting parts for us. So like the case we saw before where we have this virtual wax up, that we've done this digital design that's patient specific, and we can take that and we can transfer that to the patient's mouth. We can use this information to help dictate the design and the fabrication of the final restorations. And then we can take that and deliver to the patient, and we know that we're going to achieve something that is better than if we tried to do it with some of the older analog techniques in dentistry. Over time, the most important things that we've found that really influence our digital ecosystem is the team approach. And this is one of the most important parts, is having the team function together and understand what we're really looking to achieve. And that is the office, it's the front staff, it's the back staff, the clinical staff, it's as well as the digital laboratory team. So we want to leverage all the tools available to us to try to create one very important part, which is that enhanced patient experience. Patients don't know how well I prepped a tooth. They don't know how well someone else preps a tooth. They just know the experience they have within a facility, within an office environment, and that's what they take back. And our goal is to try to link that to emotion, because if we could bring emotion into their treatment, we're going to do more treatment and we're going to do better treatment. And that brings us to the last part, which is that passion. If we can really have passion within what we do, it's exciting and we're always going to end up doing it better. So these have been some of the most important parts that we've seen that have changed, but the fundamental tools of digital dentistry still remain with the camera. The camera is the foundation for our communication, and it always has been. But what we've seen with the intraoral camera is that now we're using it as a tool that is so important for social media. And I'm going to share this with you guys in a little bit. But the other foundational tool for digital dentistry has been an intraoral scanner, a way that we can record what we like to say a surface scan within the mouth. The last major tool, or the fundamental tool that we always use, was 3D imaging, a way to see below the soft tissue, below, and use that information to help plan for both either sleep apnea appliances, surgical guides, but it gives us an incredible amount of insight into complexity before we ever actually embark or we begin treating a patient. Going back to photography for a moment, it really is the most important way for us to critique our work and to share our work with others. And so as photography has evolved, we had to evolve with it. And so part of our digital ecosystem that we work so hard is within our photo studio. It's a way where we have a simple setup where almost anybody within our building can go and take high quality photos. And these photos become so important for the type of treatment, but also we have to share this information. And social media has become just as important as digital dentistry. We have digital patients. Everybody finds us and communicates through the social media platforms. So the photo studio, which we got everything off Amazon.com, has been such an important way for us to share the style of dentistry that we want to promote and we want us to be known for. So the ability to take photos like these and to be able to then share these photos in a very simplified system has become such an important style of the dentistry that we provide. The other part is testimonial videos, like what we see here, the ability for us to be able to take a nice video of a patient and their experience that's authentic and share that online, because that's how patients find us and that's how patients do their research. So the next foundational tool that we've always worked with is the 3D Xray. And the 3D Xray technology has improved the dentistry that we do and the integrations that we do, because it allows us to incorporate that other side that we don't normally see, which is underneath the tissue. So in a traditional case like what we see here, where we're going to be using it for implant planning, we're going to do alignment dentistry, where we're going to align the surface scan with the 3D scan, and this gives us insight. And this has been a very traditional technique. A lot of people have seen this before, but what they haven't seen is once we have access to all of this information, how are we going to tie it all together? So a great example of that is a patient who needs a single tooth anterior implant. Well, if I already have a cone beam scan of his existing root, and like what you see here in the video is us actually going ahead and using that existing root morphology to help dictate the design of an immediate provisional that we're going to deliver to the patient. So we're going to use access to all of this information we already have recorded, and we're going to align it to make sure that we can provide better treatment for our patient. And it's really so that when we end up here, which is time for the final restoration, we have perfectly sculpted and understand where we want to go all the way back from when we first met the patient and we began that diagnostic process for us. It's been very exciting. Well, digital dentistry has a lot of parts to it, and some of the most important parts of the digital workflows and the difference in digital dentistry, first and foremost, is this virtual collaboration and support. And this is what's going to transform the way a lot of dentistry gets done in the future. Because once we have this information that's digitized and it's on a screen, I can be planning a case with an implant surgeon across the country, and we could be collaborating in real time. And that's incredibly powerful tools to be used. The next trend that we're seeing as part of our ecosystem is the ability for us to use scans from different points of time and visually see the changes that are happening within these patients over time. And we call that patient monitoring. And this is so important because this allows the patients to visually understand the changes that are happening within their mouth. Well, one of the other great things that I always talked about was dynamic impressioning. And that was our ability to record a patient and to build the perfect scan over time. So we would record if there was a part of a scan where we did not feel like we captured the margin as accurately as we wanted, or maybe it was obscured, we can go back, erase that, and fill it in. But what's happened now with dynamic impressioning is we can actually record the patient's actual mandibular movements and share that information with us and keep that information digitally recorded in that digital patient library, so that years from now, if there is a reason or a need, we can go back and we can reference and even use that information. Digital information does not change over time, and that's an incredibly valuable part. But fundamentally, the real tools of digital dentistry allow us to align data sets. Digital alignment, that's the true power of digital dentistry, and that's what we want to leverage with our ecosystems. So a case like this, where we have a patient who's coming in for an implant plan, and we're going to sit down and we are going to analyze part of the surgical team, part of the restorative team, the complexity of the case, we have a lot of information readily available to us to collaborate in real time, whether we're in the same place, and to use that information to develop a very specific treatment plan for our patient. And what we've always seen is that these scans or these digital dentistry has always been used for a restorative process, but that's changing because of our ability to go ahead and make a restoration within a same day or within an accelerated amount of time. We have the ability to use it for this restorative purpose, and we've had that. But what we're doing now is we're adapting that process to not just be a tool for restorations, but a tool for diagnosis. And what we've done as part of this concept within our practice is we had to make sure that we had a very easy way to scan every patient every time. So we took one of our consultation rooms and we rebranded it, and I designed it as my Trios scan room. I use a Trios intraoral scanner, and what's great about this room is that it gives the patient the experience that they need. The patient needs to see the process of them being scanned. The patient needs to begin to see the conversation and as that develops for their treatment, so that they develop trust and they develop an emotional connection with the office, with myself, and with our team. So this room has been very important for us to do just what we see here. Have a very simple and efficient way for us to have a patient be scanned in a non-clinical environment. The scanner is always set up so we can very efficiently see this patient either on their way to hygiene or at their first visit to the appointment. There is no patient that comes to our office that does not receive an intraoral scan, because I want to make sure that I have this digital library built for this patient over time. And this is what our goal is. Our goal is to generate these high quality digital models that can be used and referenced at some point in the future. As I was saying before with patient monitoring, when we have patients who are meeting in our consult room and the patient's telling us, oh no, I don't grind. Well, this is the type of conversation we're having, where we can look together and I can point to a certain area and say, I do think that you're grinding, and let me show you why I think so. Let's go stand, for argument's sake, as if we're on your tongue. And let's look at some of the areas that we see here. And so we begin accelerating and enhancing the co-diagnostic process and the discussion between the patients and ourselves to really understand what's happening and why we recommend a form of treatment, and enhancing them accepting that a treatment from us. So the digital ecosystem for us has really been developed so that we can have access to all of these tools, but make sure that we have systems behind the tools so that they're actually used. So you need systems for managing photos, you need systems for managing your 3D X-rays, you need systems for managing your intraoral scans. And the ability to have all of that within one area is what I like to call my digital patient library. And the ability to have access to all this information and have all of as much as I can aligned and merged really gives me insight into understanding everything that we need for this patient, whether it's an intraoral scan, whether it's a 3D surgical implant plan and guide, or whether it's a digital smile design, or it's an analysis of where we need to set up teeth. We want to keep all this information within our digital patient library. Another concept is expanding the digital office. And in our office, what we have is we have an intraoral scanner. And most offices who have an intraoral scanner have it plugged into one computer, and that's where your scans are kept. What we've seen is happening as a trend now is that we want to be able to use those scans in multiple places around that office. And that's what we call expanding the digital office. We have the ability to try to have these systems communicate very similar to some other client-server relationships, where we can now view these scans, not just on that scanning computer, but we can see these scans in our office in different areas. And here's kind of how I like to simulate that. So we have a scanner that travels around through the office, and we have a scanner that's built into our scan room. Well, sometimes when we're presenting a treatment plan, we want to have that 3D information available to show the patients. So in our consult room, a different consult room, we want to make sure that we can bring the scans up there. Well, our office manager also needs to be able to check that all the scans have been sent for the day to the corresponding treatment areas that they have to go to. Same thing with Dr. Barber. She prefers to view her scans in her office. I like to do same-day design for my patients, but I like to design those in my office. So sometimes I design in our consult room, and sometimes I send it off to the laboratory. But ultimately, our goal is to be able to allow a centralized area where all our scans are kept, and those are available on any of the computers within our office. And it's an incredibly important concept. And being involved with Touro College of Dental Medicine, one of the first new dental schools in New York State in 50 years, where I'm the director of digital dentistry, we've had the ability to take these systems where we have our systems for the students so that they could gain practical experience and education within digital dentistry. But we have to take these systems and this digital ecosystem and expand it to up to 400 students. But we don't have 400 scanners. So we had to find a way where we're going to be able to expand the ecosystem, allow people to access scans that they take, use them for either restorative purpose, a diagnostic purpose, but fundamentally to have as much information available so that we can elevate the quality of the dentistry we provide to our patients and really have excitement behind that. And that's been one of the most fantastic parts for us. It's kind of what we simulate here, where we have a system set up so that patients are scanned, and when we have access to this digital information, we have to make sure that the right people have access to it. And that's one of the big downfalls that we've seen in digital dentistry, is that, if all the information is kept just in one area and it can't be shared or it can't be used or it can't be accessed, it's like having a photo that's on your phone that's not being shared on social media. Everybody needs to have access to it. Everybody should be able to use it as a very powerful tool, and then we can enhance and we can really expand the services that we provide to our patients. And that's been one of the most exciting parts about the digital ecosystem and digital dentistry, and it really is what I love to share. And so as part of that, I say thank you, and I look forward in the future of being able to share any of my experiences with anybody. Thank you.